Let's talk about renewal or transformation and ways that I see that we can go about it in a productive way. I'm going to talk about two different approaches, and one of them might feel very counterintuitive, and your ego might not like it very much. The other one is a little bit more of the standard approach. So here we are, we're about to transition into a new year, and many of us are thinking about change and wishing that next year, a year from now, we could feel differently than we do right now, especially those of us who have dealt with chronic illness for a long time. I know for me personally, I went year after year after year feeling the same. I mean, maybe my symptoms were a little bit different, but the general overall picture was I felt very oppressed by my body. I felt confused. I felt scared. And I just really also felt the same about my relationships and who I was. My general viewpoint about my reality didn't shift. So the first thing is to take a step back and look at your history. Is how you think, feel, are your perspectives on life, are they kind of not changing? Are they the same? And have you been actually really trying to learn new skills and make goals, but they're not actually evolving into anything? So if that's you, listen up, because I feel like to actually change, it's kind of rare. Like people tend to be similar their whole life. If I think about my family members and people I grew up with, when I talk to them, they're kind of still the same. I mean, the specifics might be a little different, but their general way of approaching life is similar. And I think that is something to be honest about, that we get stuck in a mindset and a perspective on what we expect to happen in life, and that expectation is fulfilled. So I think that the most important thing when it comes to renewal is renewing our perspective on life itself, our perspective on what things mean when they happen to us, because it's our perspective that really sets the stage for everything else to sort of line up in that same way. Like we might change jobs, change relationships, make changes, but our perspectives on that often are the same. He doesn't really care about me. This job is too hard. I'm always busy. Um, and so just know that. And so I think that renewal of your perspective is key, and working on that and setting conscious intention to do inquiry on a regular basis on what your perspective is and questioning the validity of that. Because, this is the process of breaking out of what we often call victim mentality or a negative bias that we're habituated into that. And we will literally, the ego will prove itself true. It will prove itself true. So, one thing that I have done when it comes to transformation is I make a log of what I think, what I feel, what I believe on a daily basis. So I'm looking at myself. Oh, today this happened and it made me feel like this, or they did such and such. So every day, it might look a little different, but how I feel and react is often the same. So when you start tracking yourself, through journaling, through reflecting and being honest, like instead of just saying, oh, they did X, Y, and Z, how did you feel? Is it the same over and over and over? And then you start to see yourself. So the next time you get triggered, you're like, oh, here's that same feeling. Maybe it's less about what they did and more about a wounding that is habitually getting triggered in me that I am not attending to, that I am not working to process the meaning behind that. And so it just keeps getting triggered. So becoming the master of your subjective self is really step one of renewal. It's also known as awareness of what you keep thinking, feeling, and believing. From there, it's about being very clear of how you want to think and feel differently, what your perspective, what it is that you want to feel. Do you want to feel like you have relationships that respect you versus people you can't trust? Do you want to feel like you actually do have life force running through you, rather than feeling sick and oppressed by the body? Do you want to feel that um, that your voice matters, that your opinion matters, it's okay to get your needs met? Whatever it is for you, get very clear on that. And every day, I would imagine having that reality be. So that would be your brain retraining practice. You would intend to experience that new perspective, and you would reflect at the end of the day, how was that perspective met? So we often go year after year, like I said, feeling the same way. And it really isn't about our circumstances. It's about our mindset as we react to those circumstances. So like I said, I was going to talk about two things. The first one is being very conscious about how you're being triggered, becoming aware, and making a goal of how you want to react differently. Notice I didn't say goals of like, oh, I want to lose weight, I want a new diet, I want this and that. That's all like fine, but it tends to not really work out for most people. So I really think goals around renewing your mindset is going to be more valuable. It's going to actually cause more of a trickle down of change in your life. When your perspectives change, you might actually feel like going to the gym and working out. You might actually feel like eating differently, because who you are as a person, your personality is starting to shift. Now, the next thing that I see that can result in change is neutralizing the energy in your life. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of us are actually on the flip side. We are addicted to self-help. We're addicted to fixing ourselves. We're addicted to the latest trick, protocol, biohack, etc. So if that's you, this next piece of advice is for you. One of the things that we are often stuck in is an underlying feeling of I'm not okay and I need to fix myself. And it will look very functional. And I know this because this is so my pattern. Oh, if I learn this, if I do this, if I take this course, if I get this coach, whatever it might be, to improve myself. So what is the message that I'm actually sending myself every day that I'm working on these goals? I'm sending myself the message that who I am is not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not okay. And so the second approach to renewal is to letting yourself be who you are, letting your body be what it is, letting your relationship be what it is, letting your life be what it is. It's a more of a surrendered allowance and letting go of the fight to change it. The fight that there's something wrong. And this is something that if you are in a fix-it mentality, this is going to feel terrible, and you are going to resist it because your whole identity is set up on somebody who basically fights reality and wants to change it, but you inevitably end up keeping the same overall feeling at play, which is not enough, not good enough, need to fix myself. So the letting go of changing something, ironically, can unravel that energy of fix, push, pull, not enough. And then what I have found when I have allowed that to happen is that a solution kind of naturally comes up as far as that situation that I didn't see before, or I will naturally evolve into behaving differently, because in that surrendered, allowing state, a new personality kind of comes through. Not the one that wants to fix it, but the one that softens into it. And in that softening, there's an integration. I'm usually actually processing my emotions. I'm meeting myself. I'm meeting life as it is. I'm not fighting reality. I'm not making stories about reality. I'm simply feeling the feels of reality. And in that, it's almost like an energetic magic that things do shift, often much faster than when we have this brute force of goals and, routines and intentions. And so I'm kind of describing two different approaches, and I think you have to sit it with yourself and which one is right for which situation. Is, on one hand, I'm like having you change your mindset and be active. And on the other hand, I'm saying, allow yourself to be with what is. I know that everything is always a paradox, right? So, including this information. But I will say that when I finally did start to transform, it started with the second thing first. I surrendered and I decided, I had been sick for so many years. And there was sort of this wake up call where I looked at my life and I'm like, despite seeing dozens of doctors, some of the best in the United States, spending everything we had, I still felt terrible pretty much all the time. And I was like, all right, I quit trying to fix this body. I quit. And I am just going to be here with my kids like I am. And I've said this, I'm like, okay, I'll just learn to live with it. That was a surrender. And ironically, in the deciding to live with it, my life force was redirected. It was like all of the resistance inside of me that I had to what was happening to my body, to my life, that was a lot of energy, actually. A lot of energy fighting my reality. And when I stopped fighting, I had energy come back to me. Then I actually did feel like I could do more things with my kids by surrendering to my current situation. I hope that you can see what I'm trying to say here. In that surrender, I started noticing things differently. Life became a little more alive. I started enjoying some of the little things because I wasn't fighting what was happening. I could actually notice my reality differently. I I found more pleasure in simple things like laying in the grass and being, just outside with my kids versus I can't do anything today. I'm so tired. I just have to lay down. I remember laying down at one point in the grass and just looking at these bumblebees and honeybees buzzing around this lavender plant. And it was glorious. I felt like I was meeting God. And in the past, I remember laying in that same spot being like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm dying. Everything is not good. The same exact thing, I had a different mindset because I surrendered. So that kind of takes us back to the beginning, that it is a mindset and a perspective shift that has to happen on a deep level that ultimately leads us to having a different life than we have now. So, I'm asking you to become aware. I'm asking you to tell yourself the truth. Like if you're somebody who's like, I don't know why I'm still sick, I've tried everything. What's the energy behind everything you've done? Is it the same? Fear-based, gotta fix this, not okay. So despite trying everything, you and your own operating system hasn't changed, yet you expect the body to change. The body doesn't change when it comes, like if you're doing protocols and diets and supplements and all those things, if you as a personality, as a mindset doesn't shift out of that habitual stress response, resistance to life response, I wouldn't expect your body to make a lot of changes with things like diets and supplements. Maybe a little bit, but what I see is that not a lot changes until somebody's whole perspective of life, their mindset changes in their being. So 2025 is coming. What is the renewal of your mind? What is the actual deep shift that needs to happen? Get off the superficial stuff like, oh, the weightlifting routine, the diet, and all those things. Superficial. The deep work is how you perceive yourself, how you perceive reality, how you expect your interactions in reality to be. You are so powerful. You are so powerful. And I've seen people have incredible healing, and there's a common denominator with all of them, despite their diagnosis. They radically shift who they are and how they think about themselves and how they think about life. It wasn't about the protocol. It wasn't even about their brain retraining practice. It was this internal self-concept and concept about life. Like I said, it can require a real truth talk, journaling, sometimes just taking, seriously, just 3 days where you write out what you thought and felt that day, the triggers you had, and you're going to see a pattern. You're going to literally see that your brain is on a replay tape saying the exact same things that it said yesterday, having the same kind of feelings, even though the triggers might seem totally different. the actual energy about how you're living your life is similar. So my wish for you for 2025 is to discover how you have been thinking, feeling, and behaving as a replay tape, and untangling from that energy by surrendering the fight to whatever it is you're trying to fix, and renewing your mind about how you want to perceive your life instead. With that, I look forward to hearing your stories of transformation, and I hope this is the year that you truly discover who you are and what you love. Thanks for listening.